Okay, today I wanted to talk about A Few Good Men by Aaron Sorkin. I talked in a previous video about introducing the villain, which is Colonel Jessup. And I wanted to kind of circle back because it is a great play and great movie. Really fun to read. And I just wanted to see what they would have to say or what kind of do basically a intro for the hero basically, and kind of see how that came across and what it's like. And yeah, just because Aaron Sorkin's he's a fun screenplay, right? All of his screenplays are really fun to read and watch, of course, but specifically for reading because they're really dynamic and there's a lot always happening for it. So basically what we got is kind of an intro. We have kind of introing the scene. We have basically an event that occurs. Basically, you've got the status quo and it gets interrupted. See, the status quo is Marines training. An event happens. So Santiago, a Marine in Guantanamo Bay, the military base there, dies. And we need to figure out what's happening. 2 men are arrested. And we need lead counsel. We need to find a lawyer to defend them, basically. And we've got, Joe that we met previously in that video. She's requesting as kind of to be the liaison / provide advice, I believe, for lead counsel, but she's not going to be the lead counsel. So what we're kind of doing is they're kind of building up to announcing basically who the lead counsel, basically who's going to defend these 2 Marines that are have been arrested basically for the murder of Santiago, because he died under pretty rough circumstances. So, but basically that's what it is. And of course this is Daniel Kaffee, and he is played by Tom Cruise, who plays the slick lawyer guy really, really well. He does really well at it. He does so good at it. He really just seems to do well, which is always kind of funny to see somebody play the sleazebag, kind of sleazy, fast-talking, loose guy. But either way, it's fun. So either way, what we've got here is exterior softball day. And what we're going to do is just work through the script and kind of talk about it and see what jumps out at us. So the right man for the job. This is kind of the commentary, because basically from here, Joe is wanting to figure out, wanting the right person, because she thinks that there's something more going on to this story, and she want to make sure somebody who's not just going to offer them a random deal or anything like that. So basically it kind of leaves off with, don't worry, West saying, don't worry, I promise you, divisional sign, the right man for the job. And then this leads very much into the right man for the job. So his name is Lieutenant Junior Grade Daniel Alistair Kaffee, and it's almost impossible not to like him. And again, this is kind of something that some plays and some screenwriters do, where they'll add kind of, they will overtly tell you what to feel basically in the play, because basically instead of show not tell, but sometimes when you're doing a screenplay or something, you need to tell, because you can't really show it. So this is the actor, this is what we need. So all right, at the moment he's hitting fungos to about a dozen lawyers who are spread out on the softball field on a corner of the base. The 27 Yankees, they are not, but they could probably hold their own against a group of, say, Air Force dentists. Kaffee's in his late 20s, 15 months out of Harvard Law School, and a brilliant legal mind waiting for a courageous spirit to drive it. He is, at this point in his life, passionate about nothing, except maybe softball. So what we've got a hero, basically. He's brilliant, he's capable, he's courageous, but he has no direction, basically. He has no cause. Basically, there's a rebel without a cause. He's a hero with no cause. He's got no one to fight for, no villains, nothing. He's coasting. He's cruising. So, Kaffee calling out to the team. All right, let's get 2. He smacks one to second base. The ball bounces right between his leg. Second base. Sorry, Kaffee. Nothing to be sorry about, Sherby. Just look at the ball and just look the ball into your glove. Just look the ball into your glove. He smacks that one out to the same place. It bounces off the heel of Sherby's glove and into center field. Sorry. You gotta trust me, Sherby. You keep your eyes open, your chances of catching the ball increase by a factor of 10. So kind of what we've got is this idea of he's capable because he's very good at softball. If he can hit it at the same person and almost hit it into the guy's glove. And he's smart aleck, and this is kind of Kaffee's character, is these types of comments, basically. It's these like fun quips and jibes, basically, that he kind of throws out basically from there. So Spradling, a young naval officer, sweaty and out of breath, walks up behind the backstop. Kaffee. Let's try it again. Kaffee. Dave, you seem upset and distraught. Get my pages over here. Spradling. We were supposed to meet in your office 15 minutes ago to talk about the McDermott case. You're stalling on this. Now we got this done. And I mean now. No kidding, Kaffee. I'll hang your boy from a fucking yardarm. Yardarm? Sherby, does the Navy still hang people from yardarms? I don't think so, Danny. Dave, Sherby doesn't think the Navy hangs people from yardarms anymore. Let's go. Let's get to. He goes back to hitting fungos. Spradling. I'm going to charge him with possession and being under the influence while on duty. Plead guilty, and I'll recommend 30 days in the brig with loss of rank and pay. It was oregano, Dave. It was $10 worth of oregano. Yeah, well, your client thought it was marijuana. My client's a moron. That's not against the law. Swap, third baseman takes one in the face. And this kind of gives you the idea, because what they're contrasting this to is basically what you've got Jessup and the Marines in Gitmo, Guantanamo Bay, who are basically standing watch over, right up against Cuba, and war. Basically, this is kind of what they live and breathe, is the possibility of war, the possibility of being murdered, the possibility of being killed, compared to Kaffee and teaching, Sherby and his, softball people to go up against an army, army dentists, a team of army dentists, basically, where it's just, you have this thing and it's just, they're really not. It's just they're contrasting it very, very starkly against this. So you kind of get this contrast. So this is kind of what's going on, because they flip between the two scenes, and this is kind of where you see the two worlds that really begin to collide, especially as the story progresses, and we see Kaffee go up against Jessup, basically, because Jessup is old school army, kind of that World War II vibe of the chain of command. This is more sacred than your life, basically. And Kaffee's much more the newer represents a much younger aspect of it, and this is kind of where these two worlds are colliding, basically. So that you can see this third base one takes, because these guys are absolutely inept at everything sports. So it's like there's no they're not going to be able to, they're not going to make it in war, essentially. Kaffee, ow, that had to hurt. Going out. Let's see, and then way to keep your head in play, Lester. Walk it off. Spradling. I've got two people to answer to, just like you. I'm going to charge him. With what? Possession of a condiment? Kaffee. Dave, I've tried to help you out of this, but if you ask for total time, I'm going to file a motion to dismiss. You won't get it. I will get it. And if the MTD is denied, I'll file a motion in limine seeking to obtain evidentiary ruling in advance. And after that, I'm going to file against pretrial confinement. And you're going to spend an entire summer going blind on paperwork because a signalman second class bought and smoked a dime bag of oregano. B, misdemeanor, 20 days in the brig. C, misdemeanor, 15 days restricted duty. I don't know why I'm agreeing to this. Because you have wisdom beyond your years. Dave, can you play third base? And this is a great introduction, kind of giving you an idea, because what we've got essentially here is this is where the reveal basically for this whole scene happens. So basically we got Spradling, who is basically, you know, up against Kaffee. And Kaffee is basically standing up and fighting for, he's not just rolling over and taking it, he's standing up and fighting for this signalman who bought the oregano, basically, who thought it was marijuana and drugs, but he's not. So we get this idea of, this is kind of what we're setting up, and again, for Santiago to be defended, or the two men, Dawson and whatever the other guy's name, the two Marines who killed Santiago, or potentially killed him at this point. We're setting up, this is the guy who's going to be defending him, and this is kind of give you an idea of the introduction, because again, we want to see what our main character is going to do. We want to see what they're going to come up with, and what we've got is he really reveals that he's really good at his job. He's actually really good, not just at softball. He's really good at this, basically, because he has a complete reading, and he gets Spradling. He's got a read on Spradling. Because, again, what he's doing here, this is not law. All he's basically saying is, you don't really care about this, and I don't really care about this, but I know you don't care even more than I do. And so I will just continually drown you in paperwork unless you give me what I want. Basically, he's playing kind of outside this law, this human game, this aspect of it. And so what the dialogue does is it continually builds up here. You can kind of see this back and forth of, hey, this is not that big of a deal. This is a big deal. This is not that big of a deal. This is a big deal. I mean it. This is not big of a deal. This is a big deal. This is not a big deal. And kind of goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until at the end of it, right here, he's like, listen, I'm going to charge him. Basically, we're not playing this. You've pulled me around too much. I'm going to charge him. And he's like, what are you even doing? Like, Kaffee knows he's just dragging it out. He's like, I'm going to help you out, but are you sure you want to do this? And he's like, yep, I'm sure I want to do this. And he's like, are you sure you want to do this? Because this is what's going to happen. And then he's like, yep, I don't want to do this. And then basically he continually goes. And what we've got then is basically, let's see where he goes. I don't think he calls it out just yet, not in this one, basically. But yeah, basically he's able to talk the guy down to get this small, minuscule sentence compared to what the guy wanted, which was 30 days and a demotion, basically. Because he's like, my client's a moron, but that doesn't mean we should de-rank him or anything like that. So yeah, no, I just thought it's a real clean scene, basically, where it kind of goes back and forth. The dialogue, Sorkin dialogue is just so much fun to read because it's so snappy, where it's just bam, 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 bam. And you can really follow the logic, basically, where it just continually goes back. It's this, that, this, that, this, that, this, that, this, that, this, that, this. And it's very concrete and very specific. And it's kind of atypical for a lot of TV dialogue and stuff. I remember listening to somebody talk about how, you know, TV dialogue and certain dialogue was so bad because you'd have over here where someone's like, do you remember? And this is like some heartfelt scene, like, do you remember? And they're like, how could I forget? And it's like, it was a night like this. And they go back and they're like, we were different people then. And it seems like so vague and melodramatic and stuff like that, where it's just kind of this I don't know, this like smoke dialogue where you can't really see how the thoughts are like connecting together, because it's just a lot of vagueness where it's just like, I'm sorry, I know. How could you do this? You know me. It's very vague. And what we've got here is this aspect where it's very concrete. It's like, what are you gonna do? This, bam, 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 this thing. The other thing that Sorkin does, which is always really fun, is there are two conversations going on at the same time, basically. So what we've got here is we've got Kaffee and Sherby, and then we've got Kaffee and Spradling. And this is the one that's always kind of fun to watch, which with Sorkin dialogue, where basically he really, really enjoys doing this two things at the same time, more or less, with it. So let's go back and see page, what are we on, page 7 of the script. We got introducing, Kaffee. All right, so he's talking to second base, and he's talking with Sherby, and Spradling shows up, and he goes, let's try it again, Kaffee. And so now he was talking to Sherby, now he's talking to Spradling. And this Spradling, he's like, you're supposed to do this. And then Kaffee's kind of talking to both. Yardarm? Sherby, does the Navy still hang people out from yardarms? I don't think so, Danny. And then Dave, Sherby doesn't think the Navy hangs people from yardarms anymore. Let's go. Let's get to it. And basically then you've got this kind of dual dialogue that continually bounces back and forth. And it does a few things with it. You're fitting in a lot more words, basically. A lot more words, which is just an obvious statement. But what that means, it means more dialogue, which means you get that signature Sorkin aspect where it's fast. It's fast, and these people are just spitting out words, and it's back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and bam, 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 bam. It's just not this. There's no pauses. It's just you can see how the dialogue goes from one to the other, from one back and forth. And these people, and that's thing where it's like I've watched some movies, and you can hear play dialogue because you don't have much to work with. With plays, you have just the dialogue to work with. And if you've got play dialogue and you can hear it go back and forth, you can almost close your eyes and see the scene play out from there. And it's always really fun. And this is an aspect I want to talk more about, because this is something that happens in the newsroom. He does really well, probably all of it. But basically he loves introducing this aspect where you've got multiple conversations going on at the same time. So that way, you imagine, it's like, if you have one interesting conversation, imagine if you had two. But imagine one interesting conversation and kind of interesting conversation. Is that more interesting than just an interesting conversation? It's like 1 versus 1.1 basically. And this is what it is. And this is kind of how it works. But then also he uses the side conversation to build tension and basically continue it, because it's like you have this aspect where he's trying to fight with Spradling, is trying to fight with Kaffee, but Kaffee's talking about the fight that he may be having with Spradling, with Sherby, by kind of diverting and distracting and everything. And it's really fun. I need to find some more examples to kind of go over this for it, but I think you guys get the idea for this one. And this is what it does. It introduces our hero. And now this is a really good introduction, because it's very dynamic, because now it asks the most important question is, what happens next? Basically, we find the right man. We need to see what the right man does. What does he do? And that's what draws the audience into the next part of the story, and that's what means we're along for the ride. So I think that covers it. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next.